Welcome back to Points and Pixels. In today's video, I'll be going over the photo mode in Where Winds Meet. Let's get started. So first off, jump into photo mode. You can see that there's easy and pro mode, and right now time is frozen. So if you hit enter, it'll unfreeze time. You got your album. This is for where you saved any photos. You got a redo button. You could toggle the UI on and off. And you can actually change your appearance while you're in here. So say, for example, I switch to this set. And I go back. And I don't need to leave photo mode. So this is actually a really convenient feature to change pieces out without changing your scene. All right, so obviously WASD, you could move your camera around. And as I mentioned before, you can hit enter and it actually freezes time. Though it does seem like it just slows it down a lot, not completely freezing. You could zoom in and out. And if you hit tab, you could switch modes, where now you can run around. So once again, you don't need to leave photo mode. You could actually just reposition yourself. Press tab, and you switch back. Right click, you could rotate the camera around. Left click, you can actually rotate your character. So quite a lot of options right here. Now let's go over the easy mode options first. Under templates, you got some standard filters and scenes. So these are just a couple of them. It's not a bad way to get started, but they're the same as everyone else's, so probably won't use these too much. You can go to popular, and these are actually player-made ones. So you can try some of these out. And you could favorite your own later. Now let's go over some camera basics. Now, if you know anything about photography, first off, we got the focal length. Now, you might be confused, what's the difference between moving the camera in and out, like zooming, versus the focal length? So zoom is the physical location of where the camera is, while the focal length has like a certain field of view. So for example, an ultra-wide field of view can capture much more of the landscape as you see here. Now for portrait photography, you often see higher focal lengths, like such. This actually appears to compress the background towards the character. If you see right here, this background looks very close. But if I went to wide angle and brought my camera in, if you notice, you can still see everything else around here. Without going too technical, you could just play around with this to get the effect you want. So I'm just gonna switch to a very standard 35mm for now. Now aperture, this controls depth of field. With an aperture of f16, you can see that everything is in focus, both the foreground and the background. Now, as you open the aperture, you'll see that the depth of field gets shallower and the background gets blown out and becomes out of focus. Now, luckily, we don't have to worry about exposure as much in this versus the real world, so you can just think of this as the background blur slider, right? Not blurry, blurry. So you can get some really nice portrait effects if you do that. Let me just readjust it a bit. Oh, I got some hair clipping going on here. Yeah, so there's that. Now zoom, this one, I think they had a bad translation. It's almost like a character scaler. Like it doesn't actually zoom the camera, it just shrinks me down. So it's kind of funny, I guess. You can be like a little tiny person right here. So I'll typically leave this at 1.0. FOV adjustment. See this little eye? When you move it around, the character actually looks towards it. So if you want your character looking this way or up, you just move the icon and the head tilts slightly. Yeah, see that? It kind of tracks this eyeball here. So we'll just put it up here. Next up, we got the soft light mode. We toggle it off, this is what it looks like. And then of course, now you have all these different toggles. You could toggle yourself off if you want to do a pure landscape. Other players, well, I'm in solo mode right now, so you can't see it, but you can toggle them on. It's off by default. You can toggle buildings off. I believe those are just the player constructions. Your guild members, other Jianghu wanderers, which are the NPCs. I'll see right here. Any enemies if you have any. Your name on top of your head, any signposts, and your weapon. So now let's go to pose. You can see there's several different poses you can toggle through. And as you know, you can get more of these emotes through the shop and through other means. So I'm just going to kind of glance through them real quick. But you already have access to most of these, so don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all of them. You could see them yourself. Let me revert to a default pose again and zoom in on the face. So the emotes, this is actually more for the expression. So I'm going to click through these and you can kind of see it's not that obvious. But I guess, you know, for the mood, you can pick what you want. Hopefully they add more of these later because there's only 5 options. Seems like there could be more. Yeah, we'll leave it at leave it at that. Lighting, you got a couple different lighting options. Starting with directional light, you can backlight the character and change the intensity. Then you got the backlight to the right, upper right side, upper left side, front light, bottom side light, and top side light. So once again, this is all just figure out what style you want to go for and pick what you want. Now there is custom light as well, which these seem to be a little more color tinted. So there's a warm light, almost like a sunset. That's a more yellow light. And then on the right side, some blue light, left and right, and then pink. So not super intense, but it gives you the lighting you're looking for. And then finally, we got some filters. These are just like your typical Instagram filters. Take your pick. Got the fresh one. You got some vintage. This one's kind of intense. There you go. And maybe something like that. Got light color, pink tone, flying snow, rain curtain, a couple different black and whites, and then some warm tones as well. So the easy mode actually has quite a lot of features already. I personally prefer to use the pro mode because it lays out all the icons down here. So we got the templates here, as from earlier, just a lot easier to see. Character right here, plus the zoom for, you know, that's the size. Yeah, I find this a lot easier to use than the easy mode because you can just see everything right here. It's, you know, maybe it's different for mobile, which is coming out in a couple days, but as of right now, I personally think this is way easier. So let me switch back to default pose again. So view management, remember this was the little eyeball that, oh wait, I got to, it doesn't seem to be working right now. Let me, a couple additions to pro mode. We got grid lines. So this is useful if you want to do something like a little more, here, let's readjust it a bit. We're going for a little more of the rule of thirds, a little nicer cinematic view. Here, let's do that. Let's put our character in the bottom third. Yeah, maybe something like that. Oh, this foliage is kind of giving me some problems. Let me move my character back a bit. There you go. So this is a nice little layout. I'll turn it off for now. So once again, we got our focal length, as mentioned before. You can see how this, it basically feels like it's compressing the background, but it's actually making a smaller field of view. And then let's close up the aperture a little bit so the background's a bit more in focus. So I personally like a little higher focal length for portrait. 50mm is a very standard one. It's like a nice balance between portrait and landscape. So if you do photography, some standard ones, obviously you could go, well, it only goes up to 21mm for ultra wide. but there's 24 for wide, 35 millimeter to 50 is pretty standard. And then when you start going to portrait, that'll be like, well, 135 is the most you can go here, but 100 is a common one as well. It's a very flattering focal length. So maybe we will do, kind of wish I had preset focal lengths here. This slider's a little annoying to use. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get the exact one. Okay, do that. In the standard, we'll do like a 4.0. And let's readjust it. So yeah, now you can imagine, here's a portrait, nice and up close. So we could actually flip the camera as well, rotation, if you want to do some inverted pictures. I'll leave that back to 0. Oh yeah, and just to let me show you the undo. You can see, you can just go back like that. And you see that actually, I believe it actually resets quite a lot of the settings. Like all my lighting is gone. Now, this one is a really, really interesting feature is the time. You could actually just change the time of day. So if I zoom out, let me zoom all the way out so you can see a little more. So yeah, we could start from midnight, and as we go up, we're getting sunrise. And it goes all the way to noon, afternoon, sunset, and then nighttime. So that's actually really nice. You could adjust the exact time of day for the scene you want. Now, not only is there the time of day, so let's do the evening. You can actually control the weather too. So if you want warm, overcast, just a straight sunny day, cloudy day, fog, medium rain. You can actually do heavy rain as well. So this is a very cool feature to be able to change weather to real time. Yeah, let's lessen it to some light rain. Like we'll get some thunderstorms as well. Yeah. And you got some fog. So with the different time and weather options, you can make some very atmospheric ones. I personally like the heavy rain. Yeah. Or if you want to clear it up, you could just turn off the weather. Okay, so I'm going to leave the rain on for now. There's also wind, so if you can crank up the wind speed, and you could change the wind direction. So if you look in the back right here, so if I do something like that, wind is blowing from the right, and if I switch it over here, now it's blowing from the left. So you can get very creative with which way. This one's kind of blowing towards the screen. So I'm just going to leave it, yeah, just leave it blowing that way. So we have these lights from before, but I still think it's easier to use compared to the easy mode. Let's do some warm light. Almost simulating it from the lanterns from the right side. Now we have the filters still, but a couple new options. We have light adjustment. So exposure compensation controls the lighting, essentially the amount of light hitting the lens and film. So if you want to make everything brighter, you can crank that up. Yeah, so you can bring it down. Very good for like atmospheric photos. You want to emphasize the lighting. Because this, it's fine. You can see everything, but, nighttime moody is nice. So let's bounce that down again. Now, vignetting controls this darkening around the corner. That's what you're going to see when I crank this up. You can see how I have all this right here. It's a lot darker. So completely off and completely on. Soft light changes it pretty dramatically. So completely different vibe. So this is off, or this is on actually, and turn off. So you can see off is pretty much like regular in-game graphics, while when it's on, I don't know, has this nice, like, smooth looking effect. Bloom, if you look around the lighting, it affects... actually, hold up. I think the soft light is messing with that. So let's go back to there. Bloom affects the lighting, kind of like that light dispersion around lanterns. So you can see, well, I'll say in this case, it's affecting bloom for the entire scene. So this is basically no bloom. And then we got some really heavy bloom. Okay, so then we got bloom intensity as well. Obviously, this is super crazy. And this is not so much. So I'll go not too heavy on these sliders, just want to get a nice subtle effect. So I had to redo some of the settings because I accidentally exited out. And let's do a little more rain. And so soft lighting gives some really nice effects. As I mentioned, bloom threshold kind of affects that, kind of the glow around light sources. And here's the bloom intensity. So like, don't go too crazy on this one. Then you got contrast. This is just, you can imagine, no contrast, everything appears flatter. While as you increase the contrast, the difference between the darks and the lights gets more noticeable. So you can see there's a very dramatic difference. So just a little bit. Color temperature. So this basically controls the white balance. So the white balance, as I go to the right, appears a lot more warm, a lot more yellow. While going cooler, everything appears more blue. So this also is dependent on the feel you're going for. They don't really have an auto white balance setting, I believe. I'm guessing when the camera opens, it probably is at pretty standard white balance. So obviously it depends on time of day and external light sources, but just put it somewhere where it looks pretty balanced. And this hue is just tints between green and red. So stronger red tones, or red hues I should say, and then stronger green. Wouldn't really mess with this too much unless it's for a creative effect you're going for. Just leave it at 0 for the most part. And then we got detail level, so you can turn it down low, medium, and high. I didn't see that much of a difference. So I'm not really sure what this is controlling. I imagine it's kind of like sharpness, but not super obvious between the three. So just leave it at medium. All right, then we got inscription. So if you wanted to slap on the logo there, do a cool pose. Yeah, I'm gonna make it a little dramatic. There we go. Let's do like a kind of like a foreshortened image. Let's sharpen everything up so the sword is visible. So it's almost like pointing at the viewer. Let me change the light a little bit. See if I can get some gleam on the sword. It's not really the look I'm going for. Just gotta adjust the model. Yeah, there you go. Adjust the model. I have to change the time of day, because that'll affect the lighting. Change the light source until it hits a nice spot. I do like the lanterns in the back. Just gonna get it like that. Get all the glowy bits going. Adjust the camera a bit. Got the logo on top of the sword. And let me see if I could adjust this field of view a little bit. To kind of look towards us. There we go. Yeah, now it's looking at the viewer. You see this little eyeball. Let's adjust it a little more. Okay, this field of view adjustment doesn't look like it always works that well. It's a little funky to use, so you're just gonna have to play around with it. And yeah, you got something like that. And it does take a while to actually snap the photo. And then from here, you could put it in a signpost, upload to your gallery. Make sure to save it, otherwise it doesn't autosave. You can share in the chat or open in the local folder. And then you can also show your game info. And then like if you share it on social media, people would find you, or I'm not even sure what this QR code goes to. But probably leave it hidden most of the time. And yeah, that's kind of just a rough overview of all the different features in the photo mode. Definitely go out and find better locations. This was just in front of the clinic. But you can see with all the options, you can make some really good looking photos. So yeah, if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.